Good afternoon, everyone. It's a brand new week, and I wish you all the best of health this week. I would like to start this show by saying, please remember Tuesday is a fun day for kids. They dress up, and you can't always see them. So if you're out and about, please, dear God, be careful. We don't want to hurt anybody, and definitely parents don't want to see their kids get hurt, so let's be careful there on Tuesday night, Halloween night. Kids, let's be safe out there, make smart decisions, and let's make sure that you do everything you can do to protect yourself. There are plenty of things you can do. I'm gonna sound like that old man, get off my lawn. No, come on over. We got some candy, but somebody keeps eating it. I don't know who the hell that is, but somebody does. Oh, yeah, me. Um, but try to wear something that's light, that's got color on it. Make sure that people can see you, and if people can see you, they're they're not going to hit you. So welcome to Footprints Forward. And we have a wonderful show today, a wonderful guest. I got to meet her right before the surgery, and she sent me a wonderful pamphlet that I read that I'm going to have her explain a little bit more, um, because it, while I had so much going on in my head, there were a couple things on there that just taking value, or just taking an evaluation of what you're doing, and trying to remember to breathe. That's been a lifesaver, I'll tell you that. You know um I'm one of those guys that I get told by a nurse over and over and over again, you need to start breathing. And I always look at him and I'm like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? I breathe all the time, but I guess I don't always breathe properly. Um, we are going to be joined, hopefully, we're going to be joined by Dennis Schroeder, who just got off of his training. And we're also hopefully going to be joined by Stephanie Samos. Stephanie, the people who have her horse, they ended up getting sick. So she's in the middle of mommy duties, plus taking care of all of her animals on her own. And Paul, her husband, is out building their building their homestead and starting their new life. So, and apparently that excited my dogs. I don't know why that excited them, but it is what it is. Hey guys, I want to announce right now that February 22nd is coming up real close. I know it seems like it's far away for some people. Well, not for me. And February 22nd is my 22-hour podcast. And this podcast is all about veteran suicide. We, wow, felt like I was going to get eaten there, and I think I still might. Good God, what is wrong with that dog today? But anyway, he wanting to be the center of attention, I think. But anyway, we go on from 2 a.m. Mountain until midnight, and we talk about veteran suicide. If you know somebody who would like to join us in this conversation, if you run an organization that helps veterans deal with the problems that they have, we want to bring you on. If you'd like to support us, we need your help. We want to get all 22 hours sponsored. Every time that you sponsor an hour, half of that money goes to the nonprofits that we are supporting on that day. We've got two of the upwards of 10 nonprofits that we're going to be raising money for. And of course, that is you guys got to meet him a couple nights ago, and you know how much I love him. But Bart Bartholomew with Veterans Honoring Veterans here in Northern Colorado, and our very own Dennis Schroeder of Price of Freedom Foundation are the first two nonprofits that we're going to be raising money for on this day. These are organizations that need your help, and they really focus on the mental and on honoring. And that's just what it is. Both of those organizations, Dennis and Price of Freedom Foundation, makes sure that it's a story that can always be told, and it's a wonderful, wonderful program. So when he joins us, we'll have him introduce himself. So, but we're going to go on ahead and get on with the show, because Dr. Steph is with us right now. And like I said, I was very, very thankful, Dr. Steph, because you joined me about, what was it, about 3 days before I went in for surgery. And, I was, of course, trying to run around and get things done. And uh, that pre-surgery thing. But why don't we get started by you telling us your story, and then you can here in a little bit introduce us to that Star Trek looking gizmo behind you.
Yes, absolutely, Zach. Thank you so much for having me here. And what you're
Thank you.
doing really does warm my heart and bless my life. I was a military brat. My dad was actually a flying tiger, and then he was in China, Burma, India, there in World War II, and 2 tours of Vietnam, where he was actually shot down on his second tour and broke his back. It didn't affect his spinal column, but you live with pretty good pain after that.
Yeah.
We were in Germany, stationed in Germany at the time the Berlin Wall went up. We moved around constantly, so you don't form lifelong relationships, some of those things that are very important. So, from a child aspect, I do understand the different types of demands military life places on you. And some of those are stressful and some of those are not. If you didn't like where you were stationed, you always look forward to being stationed in the next place. And we got relocated about every 16 months. So I really do appreciate all that you're doing for vets. I'm not a vet, but military stress, I think, is a unique type of stress because you live in that environment. And many people don't really understand stress. We hear it, it's bandied about. But I studied with my doctoral dissertation for my PhD about stress specifically because I was told that due to the stressors I was experiencing, I'd probably be dead by the time I was 55. And I'm almost 70 now. So, it's like you can understand it and do something different. So the journey of my life in this past 25, 30 years has been to find ways to stay alive, regardless of the stress, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, and you ended up getting some news that they were trying to get you to do something that you didn't want to do, and you just and it had to do with your blood, and you were like, no, I'm not doing this. And they kept telling you, they kept fighting you. And in which, look, anybody who's ever spent 3 minutes listening to me knows that I think people think I enjoy fighting with doctors. I don't, but I do it so frequently that it makes it look like I do. Well, why don't you go on ahead and tell us that story?
Well, that was an interesting story. Again, because of stress, I tended to have severe migraines, hormonal inflections. I was allergic to everything in my environment, which was hypersensitivity and all kinds of stuff. So I happened to have huge, massive menstrual cycles. And the physician with whom I was working at the time, I went in because I couldn't stop bleeding and I was leaving pools of blood literally everywhere I went. And she said, "We have to perform an emergency hysterectomy. I've given you everything I can to stop the bleeding. It's not stopping. You're going to go into the hospital. And your blood count is so low that you will have to have a transfusion." Well, I know from my experience, this is not something I'm telling anybody else to believe, but from my experience, I understand that they will do this. And they say blood does not take on information from the body, it's a safe thing. But I didn't want a transfusion, I didn't want anybody else's blood in my system. And I knew that everything is energy, and energy follows intention, and everything is energy, and energy follows intention. So my intention was that I would have a surgery that would not require a transfusion. I would have minimal blood loss. I talked to her about what I wanted: minimal blood loss, a quick and easy surgery. And then I went in and told the same thing to the anesthesiologist. And she said, "But I won't perform the operation if you don't give me permission to transfuse you."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I don't give you permission to transfuse me, but I do give you permission to perform the operation." So we had our horns locked, and eventually, because I was standing there bleeding, she allowed that she would do the operation. She did, and I did not have to have a transfusion. And she honored my request as her patient. But I was pretty emphatic. I think you are too, because we know our bodies best. And I had minimal blood loss. And she said, "You're going to increase your recovery time." I said, "Well, that's your belief. I'm going to do just fine." And I did. I really did. My son came to stay with me to help me out. And he looked at me at the second day and he goes, "I'm out of here, Mom. See you later." And he went on, because energy follows intention. And I had set some very, very, very clear intentions, and they happened.
Yeah. One of the things that you just said, I truly believe in, and we were talking to somebody about it the other day, somebody who deals with, you know, female problems when it comes to reproductive organs and the menstrual cycle and everything else, um, that your body. And every time a doctor tells you that, well, we can't find anything, that doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong with you. It just means that, what, they don't know what they're
Yes.
looking for. They don't know how to find it yet. And that's the reason why you've got to stay persistent. And but you don't have to you don't have to submit yourself to a doctor's whim.
No. And I've
You
had doctors fire me, and I've fired doctors, and it's all okay, because I'm still here and I'm laughing with you and I'm enjoying it. You will find the doctor or the physician or the healthcare that you need if you keep just asking yourself, "What do I need?" And then opening up and making calls or doing whatever. Someone will call you and say, "I just found this fantastic doctor," or "I just found this," and it will happen.
Well, tell us about the little escape pod you have behind you.
This is brand new for me. I just got it in August. I do a lot of energy therapies. I have a PhD in energy medicine and a doctorate of theology in spiritual counseling. So that's a THD, theology. And so I've done a lot of work and practice, and I'm a Reiki master and all kinds of wonderful things. I just love it. And I know that everything is energy, and energy follows intention. You'll hear that throughout the conversation. And I was getting old enough that I didn't want to do Reiki sessions, and I hadn't done massage for 10 years. And I really wanted something to bring together everything I had learned about. So in my massage office, I used to have a music bed, and people could lay on the music bed and let the vibrations take them into la la land after their massage, because music actually changes the activity of your blood cells and your brain. Both my son's third grade teacher was the same, and he knew what was called the Mozart effect. And playing Mozart in a learning environment helps people learn better. So he would play Mozart when the boys were in his classroom. And so music, it'll change cellular activity, it'll change the way your brain works, it'll change so much. And the vibrations help make that gentle shift and transition. Also, you can see there's a white light up here. I can change this to 10 different colors. And you sit with the light, and you sit in a zero gravity chair, so you don't have much pressure on any specific part of your body. And under the chair is a subwoofer box. So you get the vibration, you get the lights, you get the music, and the music comes at you in a spiral. There's speakers on either end of this beautiful chamber, and the music comes in, and because of the orientation of the chamber, it just swirls around you. So it gets into every part of your body. Your ears are not the only part of you that hears. Your skin, everything hears. So it's just a wonderful healing tool. And you get in there and you get 1 hour of pure healing time. Pure healing time. And most people don't get 1 minute of pure healing time. So this is phenomenal, and I'm just so thrilled to have it. I can also work with people like I did with you, sending them some information that actually can change the course or the outcome of an event in their lives. And that's one of my favorite things to do. My motto is change your word, change your life.
Yeah. The light in there, is that one of those, does it have like infra blue
There's
or
a
something?
wooden disc right there. And then there's LED lights that go around the edge. So there's nothing like an infrared light. I know what an infrared light is. And actually, the light spectrum is continuous. And so our eyes see violet and red and the colors in between. But actually, there's infrared, which our eyes don't see that wave. And we can tell with the sunburn, right? Or food in a restaurant. Or ultraviolet, which we can also tell with the sunburn, that our eyes don't see, but they're still a part of that vibrational light spectrum. So a lot of this is included in this healing chamber.
Okay. Let's try to talk about what is the benefit mentally. Okay, because look, I know that with me, anytime that I go to somebody for any type of a healing massage or anything like that, obviously it's because the muscles are tight, and tight muscles. I'm going to tell you something: tight muscles have ruined 9 years, of my life, because I've been overprotective of things, and so the neck muscles became so tight that my neurologist, I've now broken 3 needles as she's tried to put in the medications into my back. I've now broken 3 needles because my muscles are just too tight. And I don't know how, again, kind of like the whole breathe thing. I'm constantly hearing, you need to relax. And I'm
And
like,
then you go, I'll relax, right?
I am relaxing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like,
you should see me when I'm not relaxed.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Don't make me mad. You won't like me if I'm mad. So yeah, but yeah, relaxation has a tendency to melt away not just pain, not just a physical. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Zach.
Not just physical pain, but it also relaxation can really work well on mental and mental fatigue, mental pain as well, can it not?
Oh, absolutely. And hello, Dr. Schroeder,
No, it's
No,
or
just
Lieutenant Colonel Dennis
Lieutenant,
Schroeder.
Lieutenant, right?
yep.
Lieutenant Colonel, that's
Um, yes. Again, sometimes if you struggle to relax, the word struggle will create the struggle. And people don't understand this is your nervous system, Zach. This is yours. It lives
Mhm.
with you from the time you're conceived until the time you die. It is yours. It is, and it does what you ask it to do. But it's a little bit like a recalcitrant 3-year-old, right? You have to get its attention first. And I inform my clients about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, how to operate within those realms easily throughout the day so that you get 12 hours of sympathetic, fight, flight, or freeze, parasympathetic, rest, digest, and heal. And you can't be in the activity of both of those at the same time. So when you tell your nervous system to relax, sometimes it goes, I don't get you. I don't know what relaxation is. But if you say, imagine I'm floating on a warm ocean and the waves are just providing a gentle massage, your nervous system goes, okay, that feels pretty good. I might do that. And you can do that as you're belly breathing and some other things. I actually talk about 5 self-healing skills, which is the first one is drinking enough water. If you're not eliminating toxins, they will build up, and your cells and your muscles especially build up lactic acid as you hold them together. And then when you finally get them released, because the lactic acid acts like glue, right, and keeps them tight, you finally release them and that lactic acid is released, you can have a little bit of a feel like you're coming down with something feeling. Whereas if you're drinking enough water, it's eliminating that lactic acid. So how much? 1/2 ounce per pound of body weight. Pretty easy. The second is probably becoming your favorite, belly breathing. If you're using your shoulders to breathe, your shoulders are not the breathing muscles. You have this nice big diaphragm below your rib cage, and that's a nice big muscle. And anybody in the military will tell you, you want to expend the least amount of effort for the greatest reward, right? So you
right.
want to use the big diaphragmatic muscle for breathing and save these small muscles for relaxing and calming down and doing their jobs. If they're tied up doing a job they're not assigned to do, they really get stressed and they will break needles. Okay. And they'll say, watch this. Watch
Yeah.
this. Break this needle. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if I start breathing with my gut, you guys better watch out there in Grand Junction. You're going to feel like, you know, it's going
The
to become a hell of a lot windier here in Colorado if I start using my gut to breathe. But
The third is an awareness. Just become aware of what you're feeling, the mental thoughts. See, the feedback loop is hippocampus, hypothalamus, pituitary. And that's where you get that repetitive thought running on the hamster wheel thing. And if you can do that pattern interrupt, you can take somebody out of that pattern and they can choose something different. But in the sympathetic nervous system, thinking, mental, feeling, spiritual, whatever, they only have 3 choices: fight, flight, or freeze. So when you do a pattern interrupt and you bring in rest, digest, heal, breathe, drink water, the body starts going, oh, I like that recipe. That's a good one. I'll start thinking about drinking my water instead of worried about. So become aware. And then the other one is present moment living. And I'll throw this out there, and I know I'll get a huge amount of response, but there is no pain when you're in the present moment. It's one of the things I've seen doctoral thesis about over and over again. If you're absolutely present, there is no pain. So getting present is one of the best self-healing skills you can do. What does that mean? Notice your runaway mind. Notice you might not be able to change that thinking right away, but get up and walk around, go get your water, come back and sit in a different place, and then think, can I relax now? I'll do a couple belly breaths. I'll set an intention that I'm relaxing, because your nervous system hears that and it does what you ask it to do.
I do know that I do know when I've not felt well, I always feel a lot better when I get up and I do, like if I stay in bed, if I've got a cold or something, I have a cold all day and I just feel like crap. If I don't, if I just get up and I get to it, I may not feel great all day, but I don't feel as bad. So, Dennis, what about you? What was your thoughts on that statement?
Well, the question I had is, and I apologize for uh, joining late, but when you're talking about not experience or feeling pain, are you talking about people who are dealing with issues in their thoughts that are painful from the past, or because I know Zach has experienced it, and I know I did actually prior to my spinal surgery in August, that in the present moment I was very much in pain. So I,
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead and finish that thought, please.
no, I was just, so my question was really that you know um, I'm assuming that you were talking about something other than a person who is currently physically in pain from some injury or some condition that causes pain no matter what they're doing
Okay.
or not doing.
Okay. And that's a very, very, very deep discussion, which is why I said I'll get a lot of feedback from it. I actually broke my back in 2017. No spinal cord impingement, but the lumbars move back and forth and occasionally pinch a nerve.
Mm-hmm.
Extreme pain. Then I go, okay, what can I do? I can belly breathe. I can do my stretches. I can release some of the tension on that place. I can do some other things. But belly breathing, especially if you're doing it with awareness, Zach, will shift the activity of your body and you'll produce natural painkillers, endorphins, enkephalins, serotonins, dopamines. And your body has the ability to produce those substances. If you didn't respond to like opiates, taking opiates wouldn't be effective as a pain reliever, right? Candace Pert wrote a beautiful book, Molecules of Emotion. And she was a scientist at the National Institute of Health who actually discovered the opium molecule in the brain. And she said, if you don't have receptor sites for these things, they won't work. So what we want to do, again, is create the feel-good chemicals that occur naturally in our body. And we can do that the best in the present moment. When we're in the pain moment, we produce chemicals that induce more pain, actually. Okay? So there is a great theory out there called the gate control theory of pain. Gate control theory of pain. My advisor, Dr. Norm Shealy, studied that and invented one of the first TENS units. Because if you interrupt the pain signal to the brain never gets it and never interprets it as pain.
Right.
But you can also do that if you don't have a TENS unit with practice and understanding. And it's like you don't put a high school football player in the Super Bowl, go Broncos. Okay. they practice and they practice and they practice so they have the skills. And again, practice the skills when you don't need them so they're there when you do need them. So I have constant pain 24/7. If I have pain moments, I have really good days where I'm mostly pain-free when I'm in the present moment. Does that help? Does that?
Okay.
'Cause
Well,
you
I understand what you're
focus on-
saying.
Yeah.
I just
What
know
you
that my
focus
own
on.
experience was, I mean, I actually, uh, this was an 11-year process of degenerative things happening within my lower back.
Mhm.
So L4 to S1,
Mhm.
with multiple areas of impingement caused by deposit of bony material throughout the area by my body. And so I am familiar with the TENS units, and actually, well, had tried those with medical supervision, but they provided no relief for me.
Okay.
And so it was, I've done a lot of um, body awareness in the past. I got my master's degree in counseling long time ago, and have experience working with clients about body awareness and tension and releasing tension that they weren't aware that they were carrying. So I practiced a lot of those things myself, so I managed my pain fairly well. In fact, uh, when I had the consultation with my neurosurgeon back in April of this year and was reviewing the MRI, he was shocked by what he saw, not only on their MRI, but on me. He said, almost none of my patients that present like this are physically capable of walking because the
Yes.
impingement was so severe. But I was walking. I mean,
Yes.
it was painful, and I be, over time became aware of what body positions I could be in that minimized or almost eliminated the pain,
Mhm.
and utilized those. I mean, it was seat in a seated position like I am now, or laying flat on my back. I was like, okay, I had to do a mental battle with that, going from somebody that used to be extremely physically active. I was a runner, did hiked in the woods, climbed the mountains, all of that for fun, to now being in a position where I was a couch potato essentially, to,
Yes.
to be as pain free as possible. But that at a certain point, um, the that impingement was going to get to the point where it was just going to paralyze
Yes.
me, is what they were said. So,
Yeah.
I was glad to have the surgery done. I'd say it was about 95% successful. I do still have an issue with my feet, where I have a sensation of my toes that it feels like they're wrapped in tissue paper when there's absolutely nothing on them. So, there's some areas they weren't able to clear out, and it's only when I'm in bed at night that I'm really aware of that. It doesn't, and so what you're focused on really does make a difference. Zach, as you were talking about getting up and being active and the like, takes your awareness off of the other stuff that's going on, and
Correct.
for me has been something that allowed me to, and still does, allows me to get through my day without any, not without it being in my conscious mind. That's, gosh, I hate that feeling of
Yeah.
feeling like my toes are wrapped in something that's not even there.
Right.
Um,
And I used to be a pilot, and I tell you what, if I was flying,
hmm
no pain. My dad was the same way.
hmm
So I am a full proponent, complete and full proponent of whatever works. I used to work at Valley View Hospital, inpatient billing, as a patient advocate. I taught CPR for 16 years. That's my conventional medicine. And I started my story off with an operation that I had. Okay. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying
Right.
find what works
Right.
and do more of that.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, for me, my background is I spent a career in the U.S. Army. I was a medical service corps officer, medical administrator, been around and worked with, I was not a clinical administrator. I was a plans and operations guy most of the time. But I worked alongside a lot of clinicians. And you'd probably be surprised at how many of them in the Army, at least during the time I served, took a more holistic approach towards things because their focus wasn't on making money. I mean, it was socialized medicine, probably the best version of socialized medicine that we have in this country. But it's also at the whim of the funders too. So, but their focus was on keeping, in our case, the Army, keeping our soldiers and their families as healthy as possible. So there's a lot of emphasis on prevention, a lot of emphasis on things that you could do besides just medicating or cutting.
And medication has its limits because you do build up the tolerance. But what's fascinating to me is, again, I worked at the hospital for 12 years, but that was years ago. And I'm doing Tai Chi 3 times a week. And there are at least 4 nurses that come into the Tai Chi class because the nursing career decimated their bodies.
Right.
And their mental capacities. And now they are rebuilding and they're doing different things like Tai Chi and Qigong and those really mindful movements and flows to get back into a healthier state with their bodies and their minds. And there isn't a difference. Okay, so we say mind body in the alternative world, and in the conventional medicine we say psychosomatic. Tomato.
You know, this is one time where I wish Diamond was with us, because she mentioned last week on this show, of course, you know, there was a horrible picture that came with it because I was talking about me doing yoga, which is just something that nobody in their right mind needs to see. But you know, Diamond was talking about yoga, and when we had her on the show, even Wednesday night, she was talking about it's one of those things that can really get you from going, it's, oh God, I don't want to do this. This is going to be horrible. But you hold yourself accountable and you're like, wow, that helped. I'm loosened up. I don't feel as bad. You know, that annoying ache in my whatever is relaxed now, and whatever it is. What is there? And I know that the machine behind you is really good for it. We talked about this, is you get in there and you kind of just escape into yourself, escape into your who you are, get into your quote unquote happy place, Dairy Queen. That's not a healthy, happy place, but damn it, it's my happy place.
Maybe not healthy.
It's my happy place. It's their nightmare when they see me. You know, they'll call people in from vacation. They're like, "Look, the fat guy's back. Come on in. Let's go." But my wife went there the other day, and she asked me what I want, and I'm like, "Do you got a pen?" And she's like, "Zach, be nice." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll only do one thing." So, but man, I've kept them in business for many years. But while you're using these machines, and I'm trying to remember that there was another place with like a blue light or something like that at one of the gyms that I went to, where you just stood in there and you let the light immerse you.
Yes.
Okay, and it's just you don't go in there and you don't, you know, do push-ups or anything. You just go in there. You be. Just being sometime is something that, you know, something that you've said that really sticks with me is that I have migraine headaches every minute of every day. But if I can find something to do to keep my mind off of it for a little bit, I stop thinking about it. It doesn't go away per se, but it doesn't it doesn't make it to where I can't accomplish things. You know,
Right.
like once in a while, every once in a while they'll take full effect and I'll be sitting there on the couch for 8 hours.
Right. And I do understand the state of being of a migraine. It really does take over your whole mind body. But the nervous system is pretty lazy and it establishes patterns. And that establishes then expectations, which brings up thoughts, and thoughts become things. So when I was dealing with migraines, or I had the migraine condition or whatever, I would say, oh my gosh, today's going to be a migraine day. And sure enough,
Yep.
it'd be a migraine day.
Yep. Yep.
Whereas I say today, and I've been migraine free since 1997, and I had one migraine that lasted for 5.5 months. So Zach, it sounds like yours has lasted longer, but it's a pattern.
9 years.
Established pattern that the nervous system goes, I'm too lazy to change. He knows I'm going to be there. I'm his friend right now, whether you feel like that or not. And when you can pattern interrupt, it's amazing. It's absolutely, like you say, you find something to do that interrupts the pattern and the total focus on it. Okay, so that you can have a different experience. And then you can build on those different experiences. Part of what
See,
I
love
do
that.
is new training for people. Let's get a new training in your nervous system.
Yeah, I do. I love that because you can talk yourself into pain. You can talk yourself out of it too. Or think I guess talk your way out of it is a little misleading. You can act your way out of it. Put action behind it and you can get rid of it, right?
Yes. Or you cannot focus on it and focus on something that you enjoy. And that produces those feel-good chemicals. And after a while you go, I want that. And the military especially, training, because your reactions, which sit here in the back of the brain that has no language, this is called the reptilian brainstem, your reactions have to be automatic. Walter Cronkite did a series on the Vietnam War called Rolling Thunder, and my dad happened to be featured in it. He was a very good-looking man, and they wanted to present the military, all of that. But one of the things he said is, I will, call Otter Command, what bogey noticed at 3:00, and I will watch it. And if I say go down, we go down and we go down fast. Boom, done. And sometimes that's good, depending on the situation. But also a friend of mine's son was in the military. He was a fighter pilot. His squadron leader got disoriented, ran his airplane into the ground. They were flying in formation in the hole. Formation was killed because they reacted. They did not respond. So knowing that you have those two capacities of response and reaction, and you're not a victim of your reaction, you can change whatever training you've had with new training. So I change and train in the direction of health and wellness, not in illness.
I like that. I do. I like that. Dennis, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean that reptilian part of or early mammalian part of our brain, I guess reptilian. Anyway, it's for folks who may not be familiar with it that are listening, I'd say that probably most people have had the experience that as they grew up, they would have an aversion reaction to certain things. certain tastes, certain smells, maybe certain sounds, and those are usually caused by that that subconscious reaction
Right back.
to that same stimulus that happened much earlier in their lives. And I have I guess I consider it a humorous example, personal example of that within my life. Um, when I was a young man and was applying to get ROTC scholarships because it was the only way I was going to get to college, and I desperately wanted the Navy because my father was in the Navy. I had been, raised around Navy, bases, etc. I was in the Sea Cadets during high school. Blue Water Navy was what I wanted most in the world. So I had applied to all the services. The Navy came back and said, "Congratulations, we're offering you a 4-year ROTC scholarship. However, you must take the Marine option because I have defective color vision." And that was crushing to me. So, in my oh so wise mind, I decided I was going to deal with my crushing disappointment by getting together with a couple of my buddies, and we had alcohol. Yes, I was 18, underage drinking. Yes, I confess. And
Alcohol is decision maker.
I was going to
So-
say, I kind of hope so, because if this story goes where I think it's going to go, if it started out with, we grabbed the Kool-Aid, I think you'd lose
So-
us on the story.
So there were 3 of us. We had a half gallon of vodka. My intent was to drink myself into oblivion, blackout. That was what I wanted to do. So the bottle of vodka was gone, empty, and I was not anywhere close to the state I intended to be in. One of the other friends had a small bottle of Scotch whiskey, and he mixed up 3 drinks of Scotch and water. I had exactly 1 sip of that Scotch and spent the rest of that night and most of the next day puking my guts out. From that moment until about 12 years ago, anything that was brown liquor, whiskey, Scotch, bourbon, whatever, the smell of it made me want to throw up.
Yes.
But there is an interesting thing happened when I retired in 2000. I was brought back into the Army in 2011. A bunch of the guys I was with, we were at Fort Knox, Kentucky. So a bunch of the guys I was with took their spouses, and we'd go on these tours of the bourbon distilleries. And at the end of the tour, they would give out samples. And so I was determined not to be the guy that was just, no. So the first couple of times, it's like, okay, I'm going to tough this out. And I took the small samples that they had out there, and I chugged it, and I fought back the urge to retch. And we'd do this maybe 1 weekend a month, and over about the 4th or 5th month, I didn't have that response anymore. And in fact, I started to like it. And now bourbon on the rocks is my favorite drink. So that part of the brain can be overcome, and you can actually reprogram it, I guess.
Absolutely. It's called stimulus response, which you said, but it's also, people are familiar with the Pavlovian dog, where the dog salivated, bell rang, but there was no food present. Those dogs can be reprogrammed. And they don't have the big mammalian brain that we have. They just so we can reprogram our past into a pleasant present and future.
Dr. Stefan, I know that you've got to be leaving here in about 4 minutes. You've got a client coming in. Tell us, why don't you give us one thing that you would tell somebody who comes up to you and is really struggling right now, what would be the one thing that you would want to say to him mentally?
It's really so easy and simple, and yet it's so profound. Change a word, change your life. So people will come to me and say, I'm worried. And I say, would you please change that word to wonder? Worried makes you sympathetic. Awfulizing, catastrophizing, it's a bad vibration in the body. Wonder makes you parasympathetic, curious, open-minded, exploring possibilities. Yoda. Eliminate the word try from your vocabulary. There is only do or do not. So when people say, I try, I ask them to say, I did that and I didn't succeed. I'm looking for new ways. Change a word. Change your life. Does that answer it for you, Zach?
That actually really does. And just to go a little bit further into this, one of the things that I've always told people is when you go to stop drinking or stop smoking, like I did, it wasn't, I think I'm going to try, because I think gives you an out. Well, I thought I was going to try, or, I gave it a shot and it just didn't work. No, I'm going to stop smoking. And I stopped smoking. I was smoking 3 packs a day. And I have not picked up a cigarette in 16 years.
Wow.
And
another really powerful word is I intend. Feel the difference in the vibration. I'm going to try XYZ. I intend. Feel the difference in the vibrations. I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I wonder about. Mm-hmm. So, all right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
I can see that.
It's a pleasure spending this time with you, and it just feels too short. It doesn't feel like we've been on for very long.
Yeah. It is kind of funny. We've been discussing it for a while, that this show, 1 hour just doesn't. It doesn't matter if there's only 3 of us, or if there's the 7 of us on at one time. We can just never get through everything. But please come back and join us sometime soon. Okay.
I'd love to. Just give me an invite and I'll show up.
Sounds great. Well,
this is very important to me. Again, my niece is actually at, she's been accepted as a Navy pilot.
Great. Well, congratulations.
Where she is.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Else.
And so please let her, please let her know that we thank her for her service. That's great. She's one of the 1% who has raised her right hand to give up her freedom for our freedom. So I thank her very, very deeply for that. So, and we will be back in contact with you. So you enjoy yourself. They can get a hold of you at makeshiftshappen.com.
Making Shifts Happen.
Making Shifts Happen. Okay.
That's my course's website. I'm working on a website for the harmonica lips, and I'll get that information to you as soon as possible.
That sounds great. Okay. All right.
And Dennis,
Dr. Steph,
thank you.
It was a great pleasure meeting you too, and definitely look forward to future conversations.
Okay. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you very much. Well, Dennis, we know that I know that you jumped in a little bit late on that, but you want to tell people a little bit about what you've got going on, and sure. Give your introduction, please.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you, Zach. My name's Dennis Schroeder. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Army. I founded the nonprofit organization, the Price of Freedom Foundation, where we tell the full life stories of those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom, those who died while in military service to our nation. You've got our website up there, our phone number, and my email address. So anybody who wants to find out more about us, anybody who has a has a contact with someone who has lost someone while they served, we'd love to talk with you, whether you're a family member, whether you're a veteran, maybe you're just a friend with somebody that passed. We want to be able to gather and tell those stories. So whether it's you paying your own individual tribute, or we do an entire book and video documentary, we run the gamut. I also do business consulting to help fund this because right now we don't have grants from any organization and we have no major donors. So basically any business owner with one employee or more, we have connections with folks who've been specialized in a variety of areas that will most likely be able to help you save money on taxes or save money in your operations without making any major changes to what you're doing. And there's a dozen or more programs that we have, and a few of them do have very small upfront fees. Almost all of them are paid on performance, so, and as a percentage of performance. So when I had my own small business as a property manager, I definitely wish I had had this resource available to me then, because I was not an expert in taxes. I was not an expert in certain areas of operation. I knew what I was expert at. That was the operation of our property management functions. But all these other areas, I know I left money on the table that could have gone to better use elsewhere. So you can contact me about that at those numbers, and well, not at the website, but at the email address or phone number, and just let me know you're interested in discussing what we can do for your business. And actually, a lot of folks like the self-service portals that we have, because you don't have to be pouring your heart out to me as somebody you barely know, and you can get a sense for what's possible for your business based upon several key metrics. And if it makes sense to have a further conversation, then we can. So.
Yep. Well, that sounds great. And I made the announcement a little bit earlier, and now we'll just restate the announcement that the Price of Freedom Foundation is going to be one of the nonprofits that we are going to be raising money for on February 22nd, which is 2Save22. Unfortunately, the number is no longer 22, so don't keep that in mind. But there was a lot of money spent to get everybody used to the number 22 being associated with our veteran suicide. Unfortunately, that number has skyrocketed.
Right.
One of the things that you offer people, and we'll go on ahead and finish it off with this, is exactly what you said earlier, Dennis. You offer a story to be told. And that way, this isn't just another statistic.
Right.
This is a story that will not be lost because it will have been told.
Absolutely. And there's much more impact when you know the person behind the statistics. We are anesthetized, I think, to the tragedy by using statistics. When you talk about and I'm thinking specifically about drug overdoses and deaths from that because of a conversation I just had. I think about my son-in-law, who was such an amazing young, well, he was in his 40s when this happened, but he was, to me, an amazing young man who I don't think he intended to overdose, but he did. And his loss is felt by a whole lot of people, and continues. This was probably 5 years ago that he passed. So with our servicemen and women, we believe that their stories deserve to be told, because they, like every person who's currently serving, took that oath and said, I will lay my life down on the line for the freedom of this nation. And currently, there's only a small handful of people whose stories do get told beyond the immediate family and circle of friends. And I think that's a disservice to them, and it's a disservice to our nation, really. We have no political agenda in any of this other than to say, we want to recognize who these people were, the lives they lived, the impact that they made on people, and the loss that was suffered.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this. And once again, if you want to help sponsor us, we invite you to please get a hold of us. We're looking for at least all 22 hours to be sponsored every time you make a purchase of a sponsorship. And well, we're ending the show, but he popped on just in time for the end of the show. So how's it going, Patrick?
Oh, it said 5:50 on the thing.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
it was probably Eastern time that it was.
Yeah, Eastern Standard Time is I don't know. I'm sorry
my
about
bad,
that.
my bad. But hey, I made it.
Hey, you made it. Look at that. Right in time to give us who you are.
Yeah, Patrick Miles of Carish Global. Just a guy who loves Jesus more than anything. And one of the things that I do is I'm launching a media company called Consuming Fire Media. One of the things that it's doing is it's a podcasting company. One of the many things it'll be doing, and one of the podcasts is the Pit Men's podcast. This is a podcast for men who just want to learn how to walk together in relationship, and also in relationship with God, and how to walk our lives out together. And it's a community that's growing, and it's been very, very impactful, not just in actually I would say more in our lives than it has been in anything else. And we're just hoping that it affects other people. Really, what's been happening. Um, um, Next thing is I started it as the youth initiative. That's the overall scale, the global scale of what we're doing. But the local chapter that I'm doing in White House is called the Roots. The kids wanted to rename it the Roots, and that is where basically I just give them the information that they need to the information and tools to be able to grow, and be able to use those tools to be able to impact their communities and their lives, their visions right now at the age they're at. So this is a program for ages 16 through 20. And the idea is to catch them right before they go into the world and right when they're entering it, because that's usually the most vulnerable time of teenagers, especially when they don't know who they are. And the tools that we're giving them is for them to figure out who they are. And I have no apologies about it, but who they are in Christ, and the way that God's created them to be. And that's one of the things that the world tries to hide from them. And when you're informed of that, you start to become a very powerful individual. So just give them tools to actually know who's and who they are.
I really appreciate that, because one of the things that I've always said, that I've always felt, Patrick, is I really do. I wish I knew a third of what I knew when I was 16 years old. I mean, I knew there, you couldn't tell me anything at 16. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. I wish I had a third of that knowledge from when I was 16 years old. Of course, now in hindsight, I didn't know a damn thing.
Yeah.
Probably still a little bit on that side, but I've at least experienced a lot more. My kid is home, it looks like. So but Yeah, and you're taking your time with these kids. I think is the positive, the positive um nature of what you do is so important because we are losing so many kids to that thought that nobody cares, and
Yeah.
that's just simply not true. It's you know right now I think there are so many people who are caught up in so many different things that at times it feels like, all of us probably feel like, well, nobody cares, but again, that's just simply not true. There's so much going on right now, you know and the old saying, look, adulting sucks. It really sucks right now, because we're so inundated with the bad news, the stresses of today, and everything going on. So I really appreciate everything that you do with those kids.
Man, I appreciate that. You said something really important just now, actually. I just had a 2 hour conversation with a brother today about like that message that you're saying that maybe that people are receiving. And it's not just teenagers, it's people. I deal with a lot of different people, not just teenagers. And the thing that I constantly hear is that nobody cares. And the thing is that the message that people care is not being received by people. So maybe the way what we're communicating is by our actions and maybe the things that we're doing, even though we care, is that we don't. It's in quite the opposite. That's why I appreciate things like this show and stuff like that because um, instead of just you can see through the conversations that we have with people by them sharing their stories, the care, not only for their stories, but the care that you have for the people viewing this to to get as much information to them as possible. And that's where people can receive that, okay, all right, these people are caring about this message, I'll listen more. And that's actually how you get people, you earn a person's heart by caring, right? And a lot of times we try to earn people's heart by telling them what to do. And that usually works the opposite. I know I'm a person that once you tell me what I gotta do, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna
You
pretty
know,
much do the exact opposite of that. Like I'm
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
yeah, my brain
Yeah, I
just
don't.
goes,
I don't take well to. Yeah, I still don't take well to that either. That's just. I think that's and I really think that that has to do with leaders. As leaders, we're not ones who like people telling us, especially telling us what to do, and that's why I try not to tell people what to do. I try to suggest certain things. And I think that's one of the main important, or one of the biggest importances of what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that people understand, look, we're not telling you about one way.
yeah,
We're telling you about every way we can possibly tell you to help as many people as we can. Because the only thing that we're going to tell you for sure, there's only one thing that the three of us know for sure, that this life is not going to be the same without you. If you take your life, it's going to be a negative effect on all of us. We may not even know you, but if we can give you many different ideas on people who might be able to help, Dr. Steph today, you know, if that sounds interesting to you, contact us. Let us help. That's what we're here for. There's none of us here who are going to tell you how it works best for you, because not a single one of us is going to say we know what's best for you. We're going to tell you, hey, this is what's out there. Have you thought of this? Maybe you want to try this. No, you want to try this. We're going to offer different things, and like you said, it's not one of those things that yeah, people telling me what to do. Yeah, yeah.
I don't want people to tell me what to. No, wait. Let me think this out. So I don't mind people telling me what to do if I see that what they do is impactful, right? And it's impactful and it adds value to the people around them because of how they care about it. And then also I I'm really, really good with people that want to show me because they want me to grow. That is what I'm okay with. But when you have like my thing is I don't like people trying to get me to conform to something just because they say that I should. That is where the things that's where I have that's where I'm very disagreeable. Because if you just say you need to do this because I say so, well then that's the problem that I have because you need to show me why I need to do this, not just because you say so. Now, if you can
Mm,
show me that and it adds value and it goes against and it doesn't cross my boundaries and my morals and different things like that, then I can be like, okay, I I will listen to you now. I'll listen to anybody. Once you say you got it, like that's why a lot of government stuff and a lot of stuff don't work well, don't sit well with me because I've learned in the military that just dealing with officers and different things like that, people can tell you what to do. You still have an obligation to yourself, and no matter what the situation is. And there's people out there that just like they're telling you what to do that just do not have your best interest at heart. They just want you to do what they want you to do. It's control over care.
yeah, yeah. Well, again, I completely agree with you. I'm still not one that, you can suggest it, but don't tell it. It's like, okay, because I'm also kind of one of those guys that'll sit there and be a little wise ass ish about it. And I'll sit there and go, really? Will that work for me? Will that work for me? And get all excited and everything. And they'll take and walk away, and I'll turn around and go, I don't even know what they were saying because I'll tune out immediately. But it's just like, and it's one of those when it comes to it, it's kind of like telling somebody how to deal with an injury. I mean, I can tell you how I've dealt with mine. Dennis, you can tell people how you've dealt with yours.
Right.
Patrick, you can tell people how you've dealt with your depression, but we can't tell you that that's exactly how you're supposed to deal with yours. We can tell you what we've done, dare I say, lead a horse to water, but it's not, we, I think a lot of times, and I think a lot of the, personal opinion here, but I think one of the reasons why um, America itself is in a lot of trouble right now is we're trying to pigeonhole people into certain groups. You are this or you are this, and you're no longer standalone this person. You're either this or this.
Uh,
I
well,
ain't either of them.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with our the limitations in our capacity to categorize and to deal with people and groups, and then it goes way back to when we were in small tribal communities. That there's a limit. About 150 people is about the limit that most people have to have direct personal relationships, and beyond that, it just becomes simpler and easier in our minds to then to categorize or okay, this person belongs to this tribe and or that tribe, and it's you just get all lumped together, and whether that tribe is a tribe from 1,000 years ago, or whether it's talking about political parties or any other way that we break things up. I mean, I don't know what the current terms are in high schools, but I'm certain there are groups in high schools back when I was ages ago in high school, the jocks and the nerds and and the like. I mean, that's just how our brains are structured, I believe, and it takes effort for us to break through that and to recognize that each of these people are individuals, and to get to know the person, because nobody falls into a category perfectly.
You
We
know, Dennis, you say that about, we like our tribe is about 150 people.
mhm.
There's no way it was that way before social media. I didn't know 150 people before
Well,
social
no,
media.
I'm just saying the
The maximum
anthropological
capacity.
studies that
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
I've
yeah,
read
yeah.
basically were saying back, when human society was tribal, that was about the limit. Once the tribe reached 150 members, that's when they'd break up and they'd go, become two tribes and etc. And that's it. Kind of plays out in our own lives. The studies I read were basically pretty well designed and controlled, and of course, there's standard deviation. You had people on both sides of that were, but the vast majority of people had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150 people that they knew, and that was the max. And once that you reach that, then they people would fall off, and they'd stay with that number. Um, and I say that not to to I don't really have any conclusions about what that means in our daily lives right now, and I believe that social media can give us some tools to expand that number if we choose to. But I think we should be aware of the fact that that's kind of how our brains are programmed, and that with awareness comes choices. So we can choose um, to recognize that that's happening, and we can choose to um, make an effort to get to know people on a deeper level, that are you know, in what we would otherwise lump into a category.
Um, I think this is.
We could go on and on because
Oh, yeah.
we're with y'all are dear friends of mine, and I just love getting together with you here, and so our conversations could go on for hours. I don't know how interesting it's going to be to your audience, though.
I think it's actually going to be really intriguing to a lot of people, because I think a lot of people really do care about the philosophy and how to try to help other people. But there's a lot of people who are afraid anymore to do it,
Right.
because am I going to, if I let this person know, I actually had this conversation with somebody the other day that this person, they deal with CBD, but they're afraid to let anybody know that they're directly involved in it, because they don't want their other business to suffer. You know,
Right.
CBD and I'm just going to say it, and this is coming from a guy who on the weekends, THC gummies and I, we're good friends, okay? Because I get to sleep finally on the weekends. I can't do it on weekdays because I wake up and I'm still sitting there going, but I'll take me a THC gummy on Friday and Saturday night, and I'll get finally good sleep, which helps my headaches. But um, you know, there is absolutely nothing in CBD that's I there's just nothing in CBD. So for people to put it up there as, like this is a gateway drug to,
Uh,
meth, I'm sorry, but
well, I mean, I do understand his reluctance because
oh
there's a lot of people who
yeah.
have. I mean, I will tell you that I myself uh, have some deeply personal reasons for having significant issues with anything associated with marijuana or any other drugs that we don't have time to get into here, and we can talk about another time. But there's lots of people out there, for whatever reason, because they were raised this way, or because
Hmm.
they're law and order kinds of people like I am, or they had some kind of personal experience that was negative about it, are going to lump what your friend is doing with his business into that negative category. So I mean, I do understand it. I don't know that I don't want. I'm still dealing with my own issues with it, so I'll just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
I really do think, and I'm not going to say that this is. I'm not going to say that this is tied to it, but we just talked about son-in-law who, unfortunately,
Yes.
that's going to leave an impression
Right.
on towards
Well,
anything,
I will. I will.
alcohol,
I will.
whatever.
I will tell you briefly that my oldest daughter had 15 or more years of involvement in drugs, running away from home when she was young,
Mhm.
prostituting herself, and being beaten and left for dead, not once, but 3 times, is the factor that makes this a very emotional thing for me.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so it's that that part of my mammalian brain, right? It's like my reaction is no, I don't have anything
yeah.
to do with it,
Yep.
because of that.
Yeah. And there's nobody on earth who can tell you that you don't have a reason
Right.
to
I mean,
dislike it.
I'm not sitting here in judgment on anybody. I know probably most of the people that I know are people who have used it or are currently using it, and it's okay. It's just a topic that becomes uncomfortable for me when they bring it up. I certainly don't bring the topic up ever, but when the topic comes up, I know I have a reaction to it, and then I choose what I choose not. A lot of folks think I'm trying to be judgmental about them. It's not. I'm just trying to not have to deal with those memories and those thoughts again.
There's a harsh reality behind your thought there.
Hmm.
And if anybody can't, if somebody can't understand that and somebody can't respect it, well, that's not your
Right.
fault.
Right. But
I mean,
I'm saying not. I'm I'm using that as an example, very
I
personal
understand.
example of why your friend most likely is very correct in being concerned about, the judgments that people may have because of the business that he's in, and if it rolls over into other aspects of his life or the like, that he's most likely correct. Though are those, and he's going to have to deal with that one way or another.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
and
he's
I
very
didn't.
wise not to do that, to be really honest, because we do have people from different backgrounds. It's something I went through before I came here. Actually, I had severe neuropathy and PTSD and a whole lot of mental stuff going on. And during that time, medication was killing me. And then I started taking CBD first. CBD was helping a little bit, and then I went to because in Florida, medical marijuana became legal, and then it was just like then you had I had a doctor that actually curated things for me, like
mm,
actually like it was very very specific. If something didn't work or whatever, then he'd be like, because I'm like, hey, I don't want to be walking around stoned all day. I got all these ministries that I'm doing, different things like that, but I want a more um, natural alternative. The thing is, this is the caveat for me. Like, so I already had suffered from drug addiction earlier on in my life, and so like that was the thing. I mean, I had made a like kind of like a thing with God that I would never go back in that direction. But it had gotten so bad that it was like from my belly button down, like it was like I was on fire, glass going through my veins, and like that's in your lower regions and everything like that. That's unimaginable pain, man. Like on a daily basis, if you're not sleeping, not eating because all this stuff is happening to you, like, and you have mental issues going on at the same time, which is so much. I will say this, and this is kind of like my stance on those kind of things. I think your friend is very wise for not, uh, because I think your business that you have to do between you, you should keep to yourself. because there are people that will use that information against you, especially if they want to take advantage of that. Those are those situations. For me personally, um, I think it matters the authority that you place yourself under, whether it's yourself, your religion, or different things like that. My authority, my authority, I give my authority to God personally. That's me.
Yeah.
That's my choice and my
Mm.
decision. So I give my authority to God, and then I base what I do off of what that authority says that it's for me to do. And so and I put my full trust in that. And so what I saw happen in my life personally is when I went down that road, right? I don't believe that it was I don't believe it was like this wrong thing and this and all that other kind of stuff, because what I saw, I had this whole view of like it was just this evil thing. The thing is that everything is abused. Most people that do medical marijuana, I'll be really honest with you, it's for recreational purposes more than it
Oh
is
yeah.
for actual medical issues. And but what I saw was I saw children and old people and all kind of stuff that were in this place that I would never have thought would actually need these things, and it helped them in a medical sense. So I'm not the authority to say that, these things are wrong in that sense, but I do know that there's a difference between like the person that needs it medically for certain issues, because I do believe that there is those things. It's like any other drug that helps, right? Then I also believe that the majority of people are looking for a release over the medical aspect when it comes to that. And I know for me being coming out of drugs, drug addiction, all that kind of stuff, like me personally, I would never let anything into my life ever that has the ability to take any control back from what I've gained, from what I've lost from having those things take place presence of my life. And I've been smoking pot since I was for a long most of my life.
Yeah.
So, and that is my, if anything, I could always smoke pot. You know what I mean? Like, literally, that's the truth. About to be honest about it. But there's this thing where it's like, how am I, like, what if I want to, with what the things that I'm doing, right? If I'm wanting to point people to Christ or to God or whatever, it makes it very hard for me to actually have that message with those things to attach to. And then not only that, it's um for me, it's just simple. It's simply for me is like I trust God to take care of those things for me. Which when I did that, it actually worked. That's what actually worked for me. Like when I started to put my trust in God to be my healer for things, there were things that were the cause of my sleeplessness and different things that when I started addressing them, the way the Word of God was telling me to, um, where I started addressing those real issues and being like, all right, God, what am I supposed to do with these things that would keep me from sleeping? Um, then that's when the healing came. It was actual, real, practical, tangible things that I was more used to ignoring and looking for the quick solution than the hard work that was going to be needed to overcome it. When I started trusting God with the hard work, like the strength to get through the hard work that was needed for me to overcome the actual root issues of my issues, because diabetes, I had diabetes. Well, I need to quit eating freaking sugar and everything else, and, and cakes and Twinkies and ho-hos and whatnot. That's really what was the problem, and eating rice and all these things that I wasn't supposed to be eating. So what when I thought the medical marijuana was helping me was like it was suppressing my appetite. So I wasn't eating all these different things, right? And then I started to lose the weight. When I started to lose the weight, then the neuropathy started to go away. But then, you know, but then there was other side effects that started to happen where it actually, um, because they don't tell you sometimes with the psychoactive effects that these things have with you over time, where just like any other drug, anything that you take for the most part that is not natural to your body, for your body to have, it always has this other thing or when you take too much of something, but it's just supposed to be a natural thing, you know, because even aspirin, like you can take one aspirin, it helps with a gamut of things. But if when you start taking, you know, it says to take 200 milligrams, but then you start taking 800 milligrams, and if you've been in the military, we all know about the ibuprofen horse pill, you know, the
Hmm.
cure all for everything. They
Yep.
give you, they say, hey, only take 400 milligrams, but then like, you know, they give you this big bottle, so you're like, shoot, I'm hurting bad, so I'm gonna take
Yep.
1600.
Yep.
That's what happens. But then there's effects that happen. It's the same thing happens with these things. I am a believer of those things are natural and they have their purpose. I choose. If I have to take a stance on something, that's what I believe. I believe that there's purpose for these things, that it's not always nefarious. But the world and the way that the devil works is he always takes what's good and converts it to something that's going to be evil to
Hmm.
destroy you. That's his whole purpose. In saying that, that's why I just really in saying that that's why I kind of like let that be my filter, because like right now I'm not struggling with neuropathy. I'm not struggling with I mean, even when I'm struggling with those mental issues now, instead of having this quick thing that I go to that that may help for the moment, but it doesn't help me long term to overcome it, which is that's what you actually really want. You want to be able to overcome the issue, not keep coming into the issue that has been a problem. And so a lot of times you have to get to the root of the issue, which is what I believe that God allows you to do when you do things the way He's asking you to do. And that's because I've tried just so many different things. The thing is, you always need that substance or that thing to over to get through the moment, but you never overcome it. God is a God where He says, "I've made you more than conquerors." So what He's saying that you're not just a conqueror. You're a conqueror that takes territory, and then you go and then you not only take territory, but you occupy that territory, hold it, so no enemy can ever come back and occupy it, and then you still go occupy some more. You go even further. That's His design for humans and for people, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And um and what I found, and I'm not just saying it, I'm saying this from experience from my life, not yours, not anybody else's, but experience in my life is that I was always um, um, the way I always approached things with anything that was extra that came into that was that it always kept me in the same place. It never let me rise above it. And I'm really cool with a God that's going to help me overcome and go beyond. And that's where I don't need anything but Him to do that. I don't need anything else but Him and His Word and His truth to do any of that. And what I've seen is a massive ability in my life to not overcome, but to crush through barriers, to like literally blaze through things that people say that I can't or never would, or things that I never thought that I could overcome. I never would have thought I could have overcame depression the way I did. But not only is depression something I'm overcoming, it's becoming a strength that one day I believe I'm gonna be on a TED talk one day talking about this stupid mess about depression and all that other kind of stuff. That's my goal and dream to be able to do that. But if I still had those other things attached to me, that would never be a thing that would be able to be on my radar because it would keep me in the same spot mentality. Because of this, because I'm able to go, okay, God, I don't want like you have to show me what's true here because I don't know. The truth is I don't know what's true. As a human being, I don't know. But then I go, okay, Lord, show me what's true. Then I go, I test it out and see whatever. And then this is how I know like it's been consistent because every single time the thing that I thought was the truth, it usually gets released out of my life. He goes, well, why don't you try it this way? The way I've been trying to tell you for thousands of years what to do. Why don't you try it this way? I go, okay, all right. I'm gonna stop doing it the way I think that I should be doing, the way that everybody else is telling me I should do it. I'm gonna try it either way because, and that's usually seriously countercultural to what everything else is telling me. It goes against like the logic that we've been told to have. there's a logic where God's logic, he goes, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge me, and I will direct your path. I thought that was the stupidest verse in the Bible for most of my life, because I'm like, I'm trusting in you, Lord, but he says, but don't lean on your own understanding. So I'll be like, I'll pray to you, I'll do this, but I'm always trying to understand things my way. And he's saying, don't lean on your own understanding, trust me, and let me do what I want to do for you. When I started literally taking that as my medicine instead of everything else, I'm like, okay, I don't understand why I'm not supposed to do this, Lord, but I'm going to trust you. The next thing you know, I didn't need, like when I first came here, I was still taking a lot of different things, and or not a lot of different things, but I was using the oils and stuff like that, um, sublingual oils and stuff like that, the tinctures,
Hmm. The
and
tinctures.
yeah. So, because that was, to be honest, like the pain that I was in, like there was no medicine that could touch it like that did. And so at first I was just like, okay, I'm taking this thing, and I remember like um my dad was just talking to me. He was just like, he's like, son, he's like, if you, as long as you keep taking this, you will never, you won't get to the purpose that you are created for. And I sat there one day and I was just like looking, I was thinking about it, and I'm just like, well, I don't want to need this ever. I mean, I don't want to need anything. I don't want to need anything. And then I sat there and I was like, okay, Lord, I don't understand, but I'm going to give this to you. And I gave the rest. I didn't take the rest. I gave the rest up. Like, I'm going to give it to you. And what do you know? Well, your body, when it's clear of everything, it actually has the ability to create pain blocking medicine for itself that's more powerful than any drug that you can take. But you have to be clear. And so the next thing I know, I'm not feeling this pain like I used to, and my body's actually becoming acclimated, and I'm starting to become clear mentally and emotionally. I'm getting off of the 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 medication that they had on for my mental state that I was in at the time. And so like I'm clear, I'm not numb anymore. And then now I'm actually able to start addressing the things that were really wrong with my life, which was things that I didn't want to deal with. I was able to deal with now the trauma from a little boy, and really actually not see it in the way that I've been seeing it my whole life in this frame, but see it in this very clear state where I could be like, God, I can't actually overcome this. Can I give this to you? Can I really truly give this to you? And it says that I could, and you'll direct me from this point, right? It says I'm gonna trust you, so I'm gonna do. And I did that. When I did that, not only did he take it from me, but he actually healed it in a way where I was able to forgive the person that did those things, which was the real problem. I had so much hate that I didn't even know that I had. I had so much hate and so much anger and so much shame and so much all these different things that were attached that were actually the problem of why I couldn't sleep and why I couldn't eat and why my anger and my temper had gotten so out of control over the years is because there's one little thing that that if I had did it God way years ago would have been dealt with, and I could have overcame it and been in a completely different place now. But now he was able to take that. It's not an issue like the person that did that to me. I can honestly say I forgive them. I was the best in their life. Now, do I wish justice for that situation? Of course, but there's no hate or animosity, which actually completely frees me mentally and emotionally and spiritually in a way that I can't describe, which actually helps me sleep and think better and not judge other instances in my life through that lens. That lens is broken. And so it's this much bigger picture effect. And so there's a greater healing that has happened than actually taking this thing that temporarily was just masking symptoms, but not actually healing the root, the soul that needs to be healed. Most of the things that we deal with as human beings are soul issues. There's truly soul issues that are much deeper than just hurts or different things like that. Um, I'm not saying this for anybody, but I truly believe that the only one that can heal the soul is the person that created the soul. That's the only one that can heal it. That's our
Yeah.
source of that's
Yeah.
our source of it. And and when you look at everything that's happening, when you look at, if you really take a stop and look at your internal life, like most of the things that we do are temporary fixes. And we have to keep going back to that temporary fix. Keep going back to that temporary fix. But there's no true overcoming and healing of that issue. That cannot be like that cannot be power. That cannot be the state of being that we're supposed to be in as human beings with this. Like, if you just take a look at just our bodies and how they're made and how everybody's so uniquely made, it is made with such efficiency and thought and care and beyond ingenuity that there's no way we're supposed to be living these basic lives and destinies, and it's just not a it's not just really think about what we are really, how we're just created, and the potential that lies in just that little bit of creation. If you just take a little bit of it, if you just take one cell and look at the intricacies of it, the magnitude of what that is able to do, just one cell. You're talking about you're made of all these different things. And they work independently of each other, but for the same purpose. That means you're created for such a greater purpose than you could ever imagine. There's more power that a human being has when it's connected to the source that actually governs it, the source that actually governs it. And when you're disconnected from that source, you can't find your purpose. You can't get the healing that you need. You can't, not saying that there's other factors outside of that that might influence those things. Like there's just time and chance that happens to us all. Of course, it's in the Bible. Like sometimes you just get hit by a car. That's got nothing to do with God hating people or whatever. It's life, you know. But the actual true destiny of a human being, what is a human being is capable of here, is completely shut down by all the outside things that disconnect. Everything wants to disconnect you. If you notice, everything in your life, for the most part, says God does not exist. It tries to tell you this. Everything does. Why is that? It doesn't make sense. That everything is trying to tell you God exists, but the things in the world that are literally made by God screams He exists. But everything is trying to get your brain to shut that off. Why? But man, when you start, I'm telling you, when you die and you meet that thing that is God, you cannot deny the other things that your eyes are open. It's just open, man. And that's when you start to realize, like, man, this
Yep. It's the original. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking about folks that are wrapped up in conspiracy theories. Well, it's the original conspiracy against God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right.
and I just wanted to say, Patrick, I mean, my observation here that if you are able to review this from the beginning, um, I just think you're going to be amazed at how what you shared ties in with what was what the guest was talking about.
Dr.
I mean,
Stephanie.
Dr. Stephanie was talking about.
man, I wish I wouldn't have
I
missed
mean,
it.
and
I wish I wouldn't have missed it. Hey,
she did not take it from a point of view of Christian faith. However, what she was talking about and what you're talking about dovetail very, very, very well. So
They were
I
all spit. They were both spiritual.
yeah,
You
this is
know.
not. This is not
Yeah.
no,
about
no, no. I'm
Christianity.
I'm just
This is
saying
not about Christianity.
that
This is
you
about
know
God.
this.
This is
Yes,
different.
I
The,
right.
what I'm talking about is just like I am a Christian. I don't like if you want to label something. I am a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. however you want to label that,
Hmm.
you name it how you want to. But that's just who I am
Oh
personally
yeah.
because of how I see God. But we're just talking about the actual source of God's creation, all these different things.
Right.
That's an undeniable thing that's denied
Right.
because of our own logic. But that doesn't even make sense. And when you just put a drop of blood on a microscope, it doesn't make sense to deny that. It doesn't
Right.
make sense to look up in the sky and see what you see that is unexplainable on a level that can't be explained. It's crazy to me that that you got a fish tank back there. You can look at that fish tank on that screen, and there is no doubt in this world that somebody created that fish tank. You can look. You have to. There's no possibility that you can look at that fish tank and be like, man, there was just a cataclysmic, just events of things that just happened together, and boom, fish tank.
I turned around and damn, it was right
There
there.
it was.
So-
That doesn't make sense. But this is what the world tries to tell you, man. That doesn't even make sense, brother.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to blow up on nobody's stuff, man, but I'm just saying it don't make sense. So like, there has to be a source for that we are supposed to be connected to. That the reason why the world is the way it is, so lost in confusion, so lost in its understanding of itself, so lost in every, we all know it's darkness. We all feel the darkness getting darker. We know it. It's literally because the source is being disconnected in our hearts and our minds. That's why we can't feel the way we're supposed to. That's why we can't that all these mental issues that we are dealing with in the world right now is disconnection. It's disconnection from the original source that can heal those things. Reason why we're going through just, if you've been through depression, you know it's not just a mental thing. It's a spiritual thing, brother.
There's I think disconnection is probably the best word for that. Whenever you're down and you're out, you're disconnected from something. And I mean, I love your passion. I love everything about it. And I hate to say it, guys, but we are way over time here.
Way over time. We're almost twice what we should be. So,
Yeah, we've run another
we're
show
about to run
almost 2
over.
hours, which is it's truly okay. But I do want to thank you both for jumping on, and look, I love you both, and we're gonna continue this. We're gonna keep this going. But we're gonna have to say goodbye for this week.
Yep.
So for Patrick, for Dennis, for the rest of the family who was unable to make it today, my name is Zach Clayton of CommunityPayItForward.us. Please join us and see how you can help people. Hey, everybody, look, please love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. Remember, no one has to go it alone when we all come together. Join us again next week as we continue our mission on helping people through depression and suicide. Thank you.